Namaste everyone! So in today's video we are going to talk about another Phalguni Nakshatra called Uttara Phalguni. So we have actually two Phalgunis, two nakshatras called very similarly. Purva Phalguni, about which we were talking in the previous video, which means the previous reddish one or the previous fruitful nakshatra. And Uttara Phalguni means the second, the farther one. So they were actually considered to be almost like one, in certain way, inseparable, almost you could say. And this is very significant to understand because you will notice that even if you go to the Vedas, to the Brahmanas, and to the Samhitas, sometimes even the deities of those nakshatras, Aryama and Bhaga, are exchanged. And sometimes even in the same scriptures, they are exchanged. So some scriptures would say that Aryama is the presiding deity of Purva Phalguni and Bhaga is presiding deity of Uttara Phalguni. And sometimes the very same scripture will tell you that it's actually vice versa. And of course, the conclusion that we can make out of it is that these two nakshatras, even though radically different in nature, they essentially have some things in common. And these are very, very powerful nakshatras in fact. Taittiriya Brahmana says that in fact Purva Phalguni and Uttara Phalguni, they are called Phalguni nakshatras after Indra himself, the king of heavens, the king of gods. So they were both considered to be very auspicious and very powerful nakshatras, even though quite different in nature, because Purva Phalguni is ugra or fierce in nature, while Uttara Phalguni is fixed or stable in nature. So in some ways different and yet very similar. So in this video, I would like to share with you some qualities that are very unique to Uttara Phalguni Nakshatra and that actually differentiate it from Purva Phalguni. So first of all, Purva Phalguni was ruled by passionate Venus. And it was also a very fiery nakshatra. Now, Uttara Phalguni is considered to be airy in nature, but is also ruled by a stable and reliable sun, who is also the significator of leadership and our ability to be in that position of a leader. And in fact, Uttara Phalguni is often called to be the nakshatra of leaders because it's ruled by sun, who is fixed or stable in nature. Also, a part of it, the first pada of Uttara Phalguni, dwells in sun's sign, in sidereal Leo. And of course, it's a nakshatra that is also somehow fixed and stable, so it awakens a certain sense of reliability, which can make you a very, very good leader as well. Therefore, people who have prominent placements in Uttara Phalguni Nakshatra, they truly can be good leaders, good managers. They are simply good in managing the situation and managing other people as well. Now, since Sun is such a reliable planet and in a way embodies this quality of reliability because it always rises on the east, it rises every single day. Its path through our sky, is always the same. Because of that, also the nakshatra Uttara Phalguni, which is so solar in nature, is also in a way embodiment of reliability, and that makes people born under this nakshatra have this very strong sense of responsibility and duty, and you can truly count on them. This is why these people will really, contribute a lot by being in any type of managerial positions in which they need to overview the whole situation or in which they need to take responsibility because they truly have this quality within them. And that's the beautiful side of this nakshatra. On the other hand, if this nakshatra is somehow afflicted or afflicted planet is seated there, then of course there might be some issue with the quality of reliability. There might be issue with responsibility, or even person may try to avoid it. Now, Uttara Phalguni Nakshatra, its first pada dwells in the sign of Leo, and the last three padas dwell in the sign of Virgo. And this quite unique combination of solar and Mercurian energy also what makes Uttara Phalguni natives really well organized. These people really have a talent to structure things and organize things in a way that actually makes sense. Of course, they can sometimes annoy other people with that as well and become a little bit too obsessed about it also. So there needs to be found certain balance here. But in any case, they can also like truly use this talent, by bringing it into their workplace or whatever they are doing, because they do have this talent to organize data and actually make sense out of it. And because this nakshatra has so much of sun's energy, combined with the energy of Mercury, it also gives those natives quite sharp intellect and the quality of discernment especially. They can see how quite clearly how things are. They can also weigh, things quite clearly whenever they are about to make any choice. Which is why whenever this nakshatra is unafflicted and a strong graha is dwelling there, usually these are very, very decisive people. And making a decision or a choice for them is easy. Because the very shakti of this nakshatra is called cayani shakti. That literally means power to make choice, power to make the right choice. Because not without a reason, it's actually a birth nakshatra of goddess Lakshmi. And even the name of Lakshmi is actually taken, from the word Lakshya, which means the goal, the higher purpose. Because the moment she was born, she emerged from this ocean of milk in this process of churning, she instantly knew that Lord Vishnu, he is going to be my husband. She had no doubt about it. She was not looking left and right to compare him with other gods or demons. She knew clearly what's her goal and purpose, what's the best possible choice in this situation. This is why Uttara Phalguni Nakshatra also gives those natives this decisiveness. Unless, again, it's somehow afflicted, or afflicted graha dwells there. In that case, making decision can be an actual problem. Now, all nakshatras which are ruled by the sun, Kritika, Uttara Phalguni, Uttarashada, they also bless us with other quality that sun has, and that's the quality of insight, bringing light into our intellect, into our understanding, amplifying our intuition. This is why those nakshatras are also called to be the nakshatras of astrologers, and indeed, very frequently you will see that especially natives having sun in any of those three, including Uttara Phalguni, they might be into Vedic astrology, they might be studied those type of sciences, because also their intelligence is, enough to comprehend it, and their intuition is strong as well. Uttara Phalguni Nakshatra usually also makes people quite confident. They have this natural self-confidence if this nakshatra is unafflicted in any way. They have this very healthy sense of self-esteem. Of course, sometimes if a proud planet resides in this nakshatra, it can also, go a little too much into the side of the pride, but this is actually not a usual quality for Uttara Phalguni natives. Usually their sense of self-esteem is pretty healthy, unless there is any overly proud graha seated there, or unless there is any afflicted graha seated there. That's actually the blessing that comes from all those solar nakshatras too. Another beautiful quality of Uttara Phalguni Nakshatra is that it's quite self-motivated. This is also what makes it different from Purva Phalguni. See, Purva Phalguni natives are really good at starting things, creating new things with passion, but then to keep the same level of enthusiasm throughout the project is actually hard for them. And sometimes Purva Phalguni natives might even struggle with understanding, like, what's even my next step? But Uttara Phalguni natives, because they have this inner clarity, they see things quite clearly because of, this sun's quality in them. They can organize the information very clearly as well. And that makes them also quite reliable throughout the entire project. They can really take, whole thing from the beginning until the end. And they will find actually enough of motivation to do that within themselves without even finding, motivation in any external sources. So this is also what makes these people quite good, in any position that is overviewing the whole thing, especially when a strong and healthy graha resides there. And like for all solar nakshatras, the quality of truthfulness and integrity is very, very important for Uttara Phalguni natives, and especially when Sun or Mars dwells there, any of these fiery grahas. And you may truly notice that if they catch you on lying or changing the facts even a little bit, they might feel very deeply offended. It's like, against their whole worldview, you could say. Of course, because of that, also sometimes the natives who have these cruel planets in Uttara Phalguni Nakshatra, they can also be a little bit, you could say, overly direct in speech, to the extent of actually being harsh as well. So of course, the way to balance that is to learn a little bit more diplomacy, which is more the quality coming from Purva Phalguni, right, the previous nakshatra, in order just to balance it out a little bit. But of course, this quality of integrity also is incredibly beautiful, and actually additionally, adds to the solar, nature of the entire nakshatra itself. Uttara Phalguni natives, especially when a planet of intelligence dwell there, like Sun, Mercury, or Jupiter, may have also quite high ideals naturally. And this is once again another really common trait for all nakshatras ruled by Sun: Kritika, Uttara Phalguni, and Uttarashada. This quality simply is there. They have very high morals, high values they believe in. And again, it's a beautiful quality, but that sometimes can make them also a little bit isolated. Because if your ideals are, up here, while what the world can offer you at the moment is somewhere down here, then there might be that there are no plenty, of common points between those two realities. So as much, as high ideals can make those natives, very committed to the higher values, very committed to their cause, and having very elevated beliefs and worldview and everything. At the same time, one really important thing for those natives is to learn also how to accept the reality and be very realistic as well. Now, because it is fixed nakshatra, obviously one very common quality of Uttara Phalguni natives is that they can be incredibly stubborn. And don't get me wrong, it can be a good thing. If you are stubborn about good thing, if you are stubborn about bringing project until the end, that's amazing. But the thing is that all natives who have really strong solar nakshatras, especially if Sun is dwelling in them, or Mars or Saturn, any of these cruel planets dwelling there, then as a result, also sometimes you may forget about other things that are also important. This is a classical placement, for a person who is so committed to the goal that may entirely forget even about relations, family, or even just staying kind to others, once there's this passion towards bringing something to an end, materializing something, realizing something. So as much as it's a beautiful quality, it's also very important for those natives to learn when to let go. to choose your battles wisely, and especially do not fall into the delusion that you're always right, because that's also a danger that might be there. For Uttara Phalguni natives, it's sometimes really hard to accept defeat or accept that they might be actually wrong. And because it's uneasy sometimes to accept that those natives might be wrong, or that maybe what they believe in is not always true and right for everyone, sometimes Uttara Phalguni Nakshatra, especially with any cruel planet dwelling there, can make a person also a little bit judgmental towards others. There can be a little bit of looking down at others with this particular nakshatra, especially its very first pada, which resides still inside the real Leo. Because the solar quality is there so strong that sometimes it's hard to accept that somebody who is different does something differently or believes in a different thing, that it's not wrong, you know. So especially, this judgmental attitude is something on which Uttara Phalguni natives can definitely learn how to work. And this stubborn and judgmental attitude often comes simply from the fact that this particular nakshatra, Uttara Phalguni, see, it's not the most sensitive one. It actually does lack sensitivity sometimes, which is why those natives sometimes may say something a little insensitive, that may hurt others, also because of them being very straightforward, So especially sensitivity, developing sensitivity and empathy is one quality that is very, very important for those natives. To not stay too stiff, to not stay too harsh and too dry in a way, but to also, try to be more empathic towards other person as well, and towards what other person may need. Working on these interpersonal, skills, almost you could say, is often one of the most important things for Uttara Phalguni natives. Because very often they already have other talents, they already have other skills, but these are these soft skills that could make a real difference for them and for people around them. So that's all from me today about Uttara Phalguni Nakshatra. Of course, there is so much more that can be said about each nakshatra beyond that video. If you're curious to learn more, I have made an entire nakshatra course, which you can also watch at your own pace. You can find the links below. Or even you can just get a single class dedicated just to this nakshatra if you would like to learn a little more about it. I hope you enjoyed this video, and namaste. See you next time.